But what we do is, since it goes through our software, because what we do is we just write software, well, then we know when the merchant received the payment. Therefore, we can trigger a payment from his wallet directly to ours, which is the 1.5% fee, right? So it allows us not to be involved in the transaction, but we can still capture our fee because of direct debit in Bitcoin. And that's what NWC does, NostrWall Connect. And with this kind of realization, the next thing that we built then were subscriptions. So it's something that doesn't exist in Bitcoin, and well, now does through Plan. And in full self-custody. Like, Bitcoin isn't going anywhere, but the price, sometimes it might feel like the price is escaping, but we've all been humbled many times with the price of Bitcoin. But just, whenever there's a bull market, there's always followed by a bear market. There'll be opportunity to accumulate more. Just have a plan, take your time when it comes to it. Try and be involved in the community. I think it brings a lot. It makes you realize there's a lot of opportunity in this world as well.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show, I would really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button, which is the easiest way you could show your support for the show and help it grow, as well as making sure you don't miss out any of the future episodes. And also, I'm proud to announce that my newly launched Become Unruggable Bitcoin self-custody mentorship program is now live. So if you've been looking for a Bitcoin mentor to help you get your Bitcoin into self-custody, I'm now available to work with you one-on-one. Check out the show notes down below for all the different contact details, email, X, Nostr, whatever you prefer. And also a big shout out to StampSeed for sponsoring the show. Check out stampseed.com for more information. And now let's get the episode underway. Enjoy. Welcome to Your Bitcoin Story podcast, where we dive deep into the minds shaping the future of Bitcoin and digital finance. I'm your host, Gigi. And today we have a truly exciting guest joining us, Pierre Corbin, the CEO and co-founder of Flash, a company leading the charge in revolutionizing payments on the Lightning Network. Pierre's groundbreaking work brought us the first ever Bitcoin subscription plans, changing the way we think about digital payments. But that's not all. Pierre is also the co-founder of Bitcoin Film Fest and the director of the powerful documentary, The Great Reset and the Rise of Bitcoin. With a passion for finance and technology that stretches back a lifetime, Pierre's academic background and professional journey has perfectly aligned with his mission to advance Bitcoin and its potential to transform the global economy. Let's dive into this conversation and hear how Pierre is helping to shape the future of Bitcoin. Pierre, welcome to the show.
Hey, Gigi. Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for the introduction. Very, very happy to be here and to have this opportunity to talk with you today.
Perfect. Thank you for taking the time to come on, and thank you for bearing with me. We had some slight delayed technical issues, but most importantly, we made it happen. And yeah, and I'm really happy to have you on the show today and looking forward to our conversation.
100% same.
So Pierre, let's kick it off. Take us back to your beginnings of your Bitcoin journey. How did you first discover Bitcoin?
So, I think the very first time I heard of Bitcoin was through my older brother, where I guess it was 2010, 2011, something like that. And we were just chilling in his bedroom, still living at my parents', and he was on his phone and he said, "Oh, there's this like internet money and people are making like millions now out of it." I was like, okay, well, it was interesting, but kind of like when I was young, I was a student, didn't really care too much. And then in 2013, that same brother actually got into Bitcoin mining, which was, of course, kind of a first learning, but it's the same year where I left to study my master's degree in Australia. So yeah, I wasn't around that for too much. But unfortunately for my brother, when the price went up to $1,000 and then down to 100, that was it for him and his partner. So they got out of the game, unfortunately,
Really?
back then. Yeah, they're full of regrets, but life just takes you on certain trips sometimes. And and so after that, I came back to Europe after my time in Australia. It was 2015, and kind of just wanted to get into finance, into investment. I didn't really know. I was very curious about, generally speaking, just the tech space, and I just had a master's degree in finance. So, I was kind of thinking in terms of like typical financial management, diversification, and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of the mindset that I had. But essentially, I got into crypto before I got into Bitcoin. The first thing that I bought was Ethereum, because there was one day where it kind of like flash crashed for Who knows why? I don't remember. But anyway, I kind of remember reading this, and I was like, okay, well, maybe it's, if I was thinking of anyway getting into that space, let's do it. So I bought some Ethereum, and this essentially got me just to understand, well, more like the blockchain itself, all this kind of stuff. But I was very much still inside of this crypto vibe, which I deeply regret now looking back. But it's the trip that we go through, and essentially, there was the bull market in 2017, and then everything dropped, so I lost all this money.
Did you sell?
No, I did not actually, but it was just, I had invested in some like useless crypto stuff. So it just poof, disappeared. But then, bear market time, I myself changed job. I was focused on some other stuff, much more tech oriented. So I was working corporate job at the time where essentially the first role I had was some back office kind of stuff. But since I was into programming and I was really trying to push this, well, then I started automating a bunch of stuff at work for the entire office. That was scaling. When I joined, there was like 10 people as part of the team that was being built within a corporation. And when I left it, there was over 100 people.
Wow.
So, just the opportunity to like really scale this up and add processes, automate processes and this kind of stuff. So I was, really focused on that. But then during the bear market, well, all the people I started following during the crypto bull run, well, they don't have anything to talk about other than Bitcoins. And so this kind of got me more into Bitcoin. So I found out about Plan B, found out about Safety, and kind of then started to, what they were saying, how they were talking about it all really resonated. So I just started digging deeper into their work and like how they talk about these kind of things. And so that's the moment where I thought, okay, Bitcoin, that's likely really the thing there. But I was still looking at things through my programmer
Lens.
eyes. Yeah, and I was kind of, just trying to figure out really what this is all about. Simultaneously, I had some opportunity for some crypto YouTuber guy that I had followed back then to make some videos about programming in Solidity, which is the programming language of Ethereum. And so I thought, well, actually, why not? Like, that's anyway the kind of skill that I'm thinking of going after. So I did a couple of these, and it was a great experience, but also it taught me a bunch of things. So I was right at the point where I was realizing, okay, the only thing that actually is worth buying and holding is Bitcoin. And at the same time, I was kind of figuring out the tech side of Ethereum and how all of this works. And it's when doing this, so I was learning and making a video and releasing it to these guys, and they would pay me for it, which was very, very nice. But in that process, I learned that actually it doesn't really make sense to build in Solidity at all, because anyway, to actually make an application that works, well, then you need to use typical databases. You need oracles to get some outside data, just even to get the freaking time. And so then I was like, okay, well, then kind of what's the point of this? If the tech anyway doesn't allow you to actually build stuff, you need to build the normal software development rails. And on top of that, it's anyway with assets that are useless. And like what you should do is with Bitcoin. Well, then I told these guys, okay, screw that. And simultaneously, I quit my corporate job that I then changed. I was management consultant for Accenture, so big project for Microsoft, the kind of stuff that every management consultant wants to do. But yeah, I was like, no. So I quit that too. And then I thought, okay, I gotta go full Bitcoin. And yeah, and so then I was just on holiday and focusing on what's next with Bitcoin for me.
And from that holiday, how did the transition to launching Flash come around? Was that like the next step, or did you dabble about some other things before launching Flash?
Yeah, no, there was a bunch of other things before launching Flash, actually. Well, so basically, I was always into filmmaking. Even when I was studying finance, I did a filmmaking course. It was just, something I was really interested in, always passionate about. And during that summer, I was trying to figure out, well, because I want to work in Bitcoin. It means everything and nothing. And especially that back then, I also, and I know I hear this a lot from people, and I was in the same situation as well. I was, well, what can I do for Bitcoin? Like, I'm not a crazy developer that can like can contribute like this to all these open source. I mean, sure, I got better now. I'm not saying, but like it's just there's this stigma I think that most people have about what it means to work in Bitcoin. But so I was just spending my summer. It was all very nice. I was watching films, watching documentaries, and of course listening a lot of Bitcoin podcasts and stuff like that. Kind of going deeper into the rabbit hole. I was already convinced, so I quit my job, but I still always need this extra information. And And one day I listened to podcasts, so What Bitcoin Did, with Greg Foss and with Dylan Leclerc. And essentially, Dylan was explaining one of his articles that got very popular, where he was reviewing the central bank strategies based off a video by Ray Dalio called How the Economic Machine Works. And it was very nice because it was putting Bitcoin into context. So I listened to that podcast, and I read this article, I reread it, and I thought there's something missing there. But still, I didn't really want to do anything about it. It's only later, after I watched a documentary called Inside Job about the 2008 financial crisis, and seeing the production of it and how it was done, how some of the animated stuff was done, and so on. The fact that I already had some video experience, even as a consultant, I did some quality assurance videos for like all of Airbus and stuff like that. And so, I knew that when it comes to just animating basic stuff, I can do it, and I can tell stories, I can do research. So the next day I went for a run. It was the longest run of the summer, and I was just kind of thinking about that. Actually, let's make a freaking film. And that night I didn't go to sleep until like 3 or 4 a.m. just working on it, and then this pattern just repeated until 7 months later. I did sleep normally throughout that, but 7 months later, the film was done, and I released it at the 5th of January 2022.
Amazing. And how was that film perceived? Where did you launch that film? Did you do like a screening, like a premiere somewhere, or it was just like an online launch?
Yeah, just YouTube. So I made a website. I did get in touch with guys from Bitcoin Magazine that helped me out. They said, look, we can coordinate with you, write an article. So I had a Notepad article with them, and I coordinated with them on the launch date. I also reached out to a bunch of different people. Peter McCormack actually answered, and he also said that he will be part of this push. And so just waiting for an update. And the moment, I decided, okay, the film is launching January the 5th, I did my tweet. I shared the Bitcoin Magazine article, and then Bitcoin Magazine just made it louder. Peter made it louder. And for something that I was hoping, I would reach as tops 100,000 views. Well, the second week after release, I was already getting 20,000 views per day. So it was pretty crazy. And now, 3 years in, it's on multiple channels. It's translated into a bunch of different languages. And it's got over 2 million views now, and is one of the most watched Bitcoin documentaries on YouTube. So,
Congrats.
pretty crazy. Yeah. Thank you.
Did you ever think in your wildest dreams that it would come across so many eyeballs as that? Or I guess that was the goal, right? To go go big or go home.
Yeah. So 100%, because I did spend like some, and when I do things, I try and take them to the next level. I try to make sure, I wouldn't be able to release a film without contacting everyone I could from the film industry, even if it was just some email feedback, even some negative feedback, some whatever, at least trying to communicate this as much as possible, including with more people from the industry. It didn't lead really to anything when it comes to the success of the film, but just in this mindset of well, let's freaking go all in. If I spend so much time on it, well, then people need to see it, and I would just spend hours making lists of emails, people I could reach out to, and then I would spend hours just emailing them one by one. I even wrote scripts to automate these. Anyway, but yeah, a bunch of stuff. But yeah, go big or go home, kind of. And so I was hoping. I would have been very happy with the objective of 100,000 views. It would have been like a success already. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I was aiming for more than that, which worked.
Incredible. And I guess that film or documentary paved the way towards Bitcoin Film Fest, right? Because that's why, hence my question, did you premiere it anywhere? But then it's kind of thinking in the back of my mind while I ask you that question, it's like, well, wait, Bitcoin Film Fest wasn't there. Where exactly are you going to premiere this Bitcoin documentary, right?
Yeah, so essentially, I released the film in January. I was traveling. I was in Dubai at that point, actually, visiting my brother. Same brother from
We need to get this brother on the show. There's so many references going back to the brother.
100%. And so I was in Dubai. Then I traveled to Snag, and then in El Salvador. And right after El Salvador, I went directly to Miami for the Bitcoin Miami conference in 2022, and there I organized the screening. So I was very lucky that again, the film resonated with a lot of people, so I managed to have successful screening there. I rented a cinema. I mean, I didn't break even. It cost me way more than what the tickets that I sold, but that wasn't the point. but I also managed to get Ben from BTC Sessions to come over to do a panel afterwards. There was also Knut
Nice.
Svanholm, which was very nice. They had both reached out. They both, really liked my work. So I was happy I managed to organize this with them. And that was, so that was kind of the first in cinema screening that I did, which was, as you can imagine, an extremely proud moment because like you don't even imagine these
Surreal.
kind of
You
things.
must
But
have been
yeah,
pinching yourself.
100%. It was, yeah. Really, really like, just a big moment of pride. It's really cool to be able to actually put stuff out there. And then after that, I came back to Poland and I joined a meetup here. And the organizer of the meetup, he's called Tomek.
We had Tomek on the show.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I didn't follow this one. I didn't see it. Yeah. So essentially, Tomek was organizing that meetup. So we met there and we just started talking. Because of course, because there's different types of people at meetups. There's people that are just Bitcoiners and they just want to exchange with Bitcoiners. And then there's others that like are in the Bitcoin world and work in the Bitcoin world, which is great. It allows for these big mix of things. And so of course he was interested in what I was doing. So we talked a bit more. He's been organizing a bunch of activists. He's a real activist,
Yeah.
real strong guy. And he was organizing a libertarian conference called the Weekend of Capitalism that is still an initiative, of course, that he's involved with. And same year, 2022, he was organizing one. And he said, well, look, Pierre, let's, wait, am I saying, no, wrong year. 2023 was the first year of the Bitcoin Film Fest, yeah. And he said, well, look, let's try and do something. Let's organize a screening of your film. And the more we were talking, then he says, well, you know what? Let's do a freaking film festival. Okay. Let's make a film festival. Like I wouldn't be able to do it myself. I don't have the organization skills when it comes to like events and things like that. But Tomek is crazy. He works on a different level, different batteries. I don't know. He's got Duracell plugged into him, and he knows how to get this stuff done, how to get volunteers involved and engage people into all of that. So yeah, so this idea was just this crazy idea that Tomek had, and we thought, okay, well, we can screen this film, but let's screen some other films. I knew a bunch of people from the Bitcoin film space, so just kind of putting everyone together. And we did the first edition back then. The last edition was last year, where we had the halving,
Yeah.
which was the biggest like halving party in the
Good
world
timing.
at the moment. Yeah. So it was really, I mean, it was 2 a.m. We had just finished the screening. Everyone was drunk. We were just all looking at the block clock inside of like this build. Yeah, it was really an epic
The
moment.
tall,
And then everyone
tower,
hugging.
no? Where the
Yes, that's right.
the cinema actually is in there, no?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's like this tall communist tower that was built by Stalin for Stalin, in fact. And I mean, there's old pictures of Warsaw where the whole city, it was 98% destroyed during the Second World War, right? And so it's like completely in rubbles, and you can just see the Palace of Culture and Science. That this one though is like perfectly built. Everyone they're like between bricks on the ground, and there's this like big building that was created by
Crazy.
the Communist Party. Yeah, pretty crazy. But yeah, so it's a very very, very nice looking building, very central to Warsaw, and that's where we're organizing. And we're organizing it again this year, so it's the last weekend of May,
Which
of
is coming up
2025.
really soon. I mean, it's
Very
only
soon.
in a few months' time. I mean, at the time of
That's
this
right.
recording, we're basically mid-March, so we're like how much? A month and a half away, right? It's going to happen very soon.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So well, more like 2 months.
2 months,
But
end of May. Yeah,
essentially,
true.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so it's coming up very, very soon, and that's pretty exciting. I mean, for anyone that loves Bitcoin culture, Bitcoin cinema, just hanging out with Bitcoiners. Yeah, I mean, it's a good place for that, definitely.
And I think this year, from what I read online, I mean, there's going to be much more than just the screenings of the films. There's going to be different workshop, different like community events organized, right?
Yeah, that's right. So there's going to be a big focus on shorter Bitcoin content as well
Nice.
as Bitcoin advertisements and things like that. So, trying to really bring different from people from different avenues to the Bitcoin Film Fest and more artists in general, not making a feature film is difficult. It takes a lot of time. It's not something that everyone can do just like that. And so, this way we can invite more because, I mean, Bitcoin, the whole community was also created through memes, and the Bitcoin Film Fest really embraces this part of the Bitcoin culture. And we have to show that it's a legit industry with professionals that are working and all of that, but we have to respect the true values of Bitcoin as well.
That's true. And no, I mean, talking about the amount of work that it takes and like how long it takes to make the movies, one of my personal favorite Bitcoin videographers, Webworthy Parker, he was on the show a few weeks ago and we discussed My Trust in You is Broken, which actually won the film festival last year, right?
It premiered at the film fest as well.
Correct.
Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, he kind of went into the basically the behind the scenes of how long it takes to create all of this. Like some people may think like, oh, it's a 40-minute clip, you know, it's no biggie, but then like how much work goes into it, and it's like an endless process. When is it ready? When is it not ready? And this and that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very inspiring.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting, especially now that I build software. Well, there's a big difference is that software you can release a half-working version
That's
and
true
just
in versions.
iterate and improve it, right? Whereas a film, there's a moment you actually have to pull the trigger. Like there
That's
is
true.
one version of the film, this is what you're going to show, and you have to stick to it, which makes it's a completely different way of producing content, yeah, and it's very interesting. It requires a lot of decision making and having some balls when it comes to that.
Definitely. And similar to writing a book, right? It's not like you're going to be releasing just one chapter and then going back and writing the next chapter. You kind of need to compile this whole thing. And like, this is another thing that people underestimate, like how much it takes to write a book. I've recently had one or two people that reached out to me. They're like, "Oh, Gigi, you're approaching your 100th episode. You should write a book." And I'm like, "Listen, man, I've got so much on my plate. Like, maybe one day, but like writing a book is a whole nother level. Like, there's some people." Like Knut, which you mentioned, who just like it, like he just like his stuff just pours down to the pages, and he can like bang out a banger in like a matter of a few weeks. But then the usual pleb, like it takes a long time, and even like some masters, like Alex Svetsky, a good friend of mine, with his Bitcoin Bushido, the book that actually got released earlier this year, well, end of last year, it was his 8th version. So he rewrote that 500-page book 8 times. And it's just insane. Like you would never think like how much work goes into it. But yeah, in the end, with the movie, with the book, you have like kind of, you need to release the complete product. It's not like, an app or a software project where it's like version 0.1 is out. We're in beta mode now, let's slowly
Yeah,
build it out. So
yeah, 100%. And I think also just for a certain parallel, I think what's interesting is also the fact that then when it comes to filmmaking, well, I mean, you need the story, you need to do the research, you need to do all of
yeah,
these things, but then you also need to choose all the visuals, you need to choose all the music.
The whole
There's all
delivery
this.
process.
Yeah, that is, I mean, that I find fascinating, to be honest. It's very exciting, and I think it's definitely more exciting than just writing, but that's for me, right? But because, when, like, you're really imagining a scene, like when you're going through this process of writing and figuring out, how the scene is going to go through, you really have to visualize it. You have to feel it so that,
Yeah.
because you got to realize, well, okay, I want this kind of shot with this speed, with this kind of editing style, with this kind of music that fits with it. And like, so you got to feel it. And that's just a process that I find very exciting.
So on the topic of process, are you in the process of doing another documentary or no?
Yeah, so it's actually shout out anyone here that wants to help out in like taking our script, taking the list of all the content that we need to gather and so on. Happy to work with you if you're interested in that, because we've got the script. We have over 40 hours of interview already done. But based on that, we wrote the entire script. Great writer called Neil that I met at the first screening of my film in Miami.
Nice.
He took all of this information. I mean, of course, we had like multiple calls, hours of calls every week just to figure out how do we build this story based on these interviews? What do we do? And so we narrowed it down. We have the script working. We have pretty much everything that's needed. The next steps are just some final elements that need to be filmed, or just some of the storytelling sides of things. So it would be like 2 days in studio. This is what we need to prepare for and what I need help with. And then after that is just editing room. And essentially the editor is waiting for this part of the work to start as well. So I don't know when it's going to be done. I really hope we can get it this year. It's just, I struggle with time right now because of course, spending all of my time on Flash.
True, which we'll get in just in a second. But in regards to the movie, kind of as much as you can share, kind of what's the main frame, like kind of what's the message that you're trying to portray with this latest documentary that you're producing?
Yeah, so essentially it's a deep dive, I think fascinating story, in fact, but it's a deep dive into the different institutions of our world that control the modern financial and monetary system and how they collude essentially in controlling it. And we go through the history. So essentially, The first institution we're looking at is the bottom of the ladder, so to speak. That is the World Bank. So we go into a deep dive of the World Bank and their history and so on. And then we bring it in relationship to the IMF, which is the next level. Same thing, the history of the IMF, how their roles changed, some of the shocking stories that come out of it. Then we go up the next ladder, which is the BIS. So same things, their entire history, how they work. So essentially, the World Bank finances projects that will bankrupt a country, that will force them to reach out to the IMF, that will give them some loans with a bunch of restrictions. And these restrictions are just following the guidelines of the BIS. And on top of that, the next level is, well, all of these people, what are they doing it for? It's essentially the dollar system that we have. So we talk about the Fed, the history of the Fed, how all this works together, and then the high level kind of bad guy. And we use the representation of the Leviathan character from the book cover from Hobbes, which is this person whose body all the way to the arms is made of different figures, and each silhouette that is there represents an institution. So we use the same image throughout the whole film, and we use this character as the representation of the monetary system and as kind of the evil. And so we also reference this to the Leviathan from the Bible, which was this big sea monster, and kind of try and add a lot of narrative layers and show just how deep all of this goes, and how their collusion is essentially bad for the majority of the people in this world, except for a few elite.
That's super inspiring. I can't wait to see it. Well, first of all, I can't wait for you guys to finish it and then release it. But from the sounds of it, it's more of kind of a documentary, or call it a history lesson about the broken money than Bitcoin itself, which, I find really those things are inspiring, because to the average person, just, showing them a documentary just on Bitcoin, this programmable, uncensored money, and some people just may not be interested, but everybody uses money, and most people, 99% of people, have no idea where this money comes from and who operates this money and how does the money even work. So these kind of documentaries, I think they're the real kind of gems to orange pill people to see the need for Bitcoin. Because I always tell people, and I've stopped myself, I don't push, Bitcoin pill down people's throats and oh, Bitcoin's the best money, you got to use it. No, I try to take it more on the problem side. So it's always before we if we're getting close to a Bitcoin talk, I kind of bringing up this question, well, how do you like inflation? Do you like that everything is getting more expensive? And it's no, who the fuck likes it? And I'm well, don't you wonder why is it happen? It's well, no, the banks do it. And it's well, why do the banks do it? So it's kind of bringing the problem, and then the Bitcoin's the solution, instead of just praising Bitcoin's this best thing ever, being the Bitcoin messiah, and people just don't take it. So kudos to you, Pierre, what you're doing. I love it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I think there's this thing, just after a while you've been into Bitcoin, you just no longer speak about Bitcoin as much.
Very true.
With no coiners, so to say. Because I think, and the approach that you have, asking questions, is the best way for people to come up with their own conclusions, which is a strategy that I take too. The other one is, just demo zaps on Nostr. I think that's a nice one, because it really allows to show, even beyond all this monetary bullshit that they won't care about. You need to really get into a deep conversation for them to realize that that's a topic that matters to them. Well, at least the use case is and no one could have stopped this transaction right there. If that's not the future of money, then what is? Kind of.
Imagine this: the market's crashing, exchanges are freezing withdrawals, but you are cool as a cucumber because you are unruggable. By joining my Become Unruggable mentoring program, you'll get one-on-one support to safely move your Bitcoin into self-custody. I'll guide you step by step at your own pace, as well as making sure you have a rock-solid recovery plan in place. Take control, stay sovereign, get in touch with me via X, Nostr, or send me an email at becomeunruggable@proton.me, and let's make you unruggable. In a world where water spills, fires rage, and pets chew everything in sight, only one thing can save your Bitcoin seed phrase: StampSeed. Don't let a coffee accident turn your Bitcoin into Bitcoin gone. With StampSeed, your seed phrase is engraved in metal, safe from elements, toddlers, and your own clumsiness. Use promo code BTCSTORY at stampseed.com for 15% off, because in the end, metal always wins. And now let's get back to the episode. And not just that, like throwing a curveball into there, like how would you like to get monetized for your content right away? You don't have to hit like milestones of like 1,000 followers or like 5-10 million impressions in the last 3-6 whatever the fuck months it is for you to get some, and then you need to fully dox yourself, KYC yourself to some third party. You have no idea where they're storing your information for you to get some peanuts. Like people are sharing screenshots of their payouts on X, and people are thinking, oh wow, like I'm going to be making thousands of dollars. Like those are really, really rare cases. Most people that get monetized, they get like, if they're lucky, like 10-30 bucks a month or every 2 weeks, whatever the payouts are. And if you put in your work on Nostr, you can start earning that like from the get-go. You don't have to hit no milestones. You need to provide value. Like it's a value for value community. No one's just going to pay you. You might do a nice kick-ass intro. You might get your 30 bucks in your intro post, but like you need to be putting out valuable content and giving some kind of, thought or some value to people to follow you. But I think it's like a nice validation as well. It's like it makes you improve like your content creation game, because if like no one's zapping, you should think maybe I'm not doing something right, like you're always looking how to develop. But yeah, just to kind of close the last topic we were talking about, like not talking about Bitcoin in public, I think I've also come to that stage where I'm not going around preaching Bitcoin to everyone. If I see the topic's right and it's leading that way, then like I slowly bring it up. And I've got Knut's infinity of a 21 million, tattooed on the back of my arm, which most people in the streets when I'm walking, I have no idea that's a Bitcoin tattoo. But then when someone goes, oh my God, like you're a Bitcoiner, and it's like, haha, like you know what that is. It's a nice defilter. It's a Bitcoin tattoo without a Bitcoin in it. So yeah, I fully agree with you on that one, Pierre. So I guess let's now transition to Flash. So you did the Kick-Ass documentary, when pretty crazy, over 2 million views. You started together with Tomek, did the Bitcoin Film Fest, which is going into its third year later this summer. Where does Flash come into the picture? How did Flash come around? You didn't have enough things on your plate, I guess, Pierre.
Yeah, that's right. No, I think it's just, looking for opportunities for things, that have high impact. Essentially, the story with Flash is not about Flash. It doesn't start with Flash. Basically, my co-founder, so he's called Hugo. He's a friend of mine from high school. He lives in France, but he used to live in Poland. We went to the French high school here in Warsaw together. So
nice.
We've known each other for about 18 years now, which is kind of crazy.
Longer than Bitcoin.
We were always kind of working on the same stuff. So like financial information systems, automating accounting processes, like these kind of things. And so we would always just, meet and mostly talk about work, which is kind of what we still do. And essentially one day he was like, hey, Pierre, look, come over. There's like some stuff I want to talk to you about. I think there's like stuff we can do. And so it was just when, ChatGPT came out and their APIs came out, and he said, look, like there's huge opportunity here. We can literally build so many things, and it's easy to build and so on. Like let's try and do stuff. And I said, okay, but it's got to be in Bitcoin. And so, I came up with the idea. I built the very first kind of, minimum working kind of thing, sent it over to him, said, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. I told him, look, if we push this a bit further, I'm pretty sure that we can get the Bitcoin community behind it, because Bitcoin community, like we're suckers for Bitcoin content and stuff. But it's true. It's huge opportunity in the Bitcoin community if you do Bitcoin only stuff and like manage to do it like smart. And so what we did was the very first AI chatbot. It was called Talk to Satoshi, where it would basically use the OpenAI APIs, and it would look at different Bitcoin books. So like The Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth, the Bitcoin Standard, different books from Knut. There was the transcript of my documentary. We had all of the forum posts from Satoshi Nakamoto, all of the emails we had from Satoshi Nakamoto. And so when a user would ask a question, it would answer based on all of this information. And it would answer as if it was Satoshi. And so it buzzed, because we were the first ones to do that. And in the first week, we had like 300 articles written in like literally in Korean and stuff. We were like, what the fuck?
Wow.
So that was really cool. And as part of it, we added Bitcoin donations. So like you could generate a QR code. That was a way to, just tip us in Bitcoin to help us cover the cost of the APIs, which not a lot of people did. We didn't really cover the costs, but as expected, to be honest, that's fine. But it did get us, this was the first time that I was programmatically generating Bitcoin payment requests. And that's when we're like, okay, actually, like, I mean, we can do this stuff. Like, it's quote unquote easy. And so we were kind of figuring out, okay, so what do we do about it? So we were both trying to look for ideas that were just AI related, more bona general business kind of stuff, and also exploring more of the Bitcoin stuff. And we were seeing definitely more traction and just ease of building in the Bitcoin space directly. And so, because again, it's all kind of new, right? You know, if you want to make an AI that serves business at a very broad kind of level, well, then it needs to be a really solid tool. Like it needs to be like really good out there. Whereas to get started in Bitcoin, it can be just this like full hacky kind of thing. Bitcoiners are
Be a
going to
little
feel
bit
like they're going to try it
sandbox,
out.
and we will still Bitcoiners jump in there and like with our shovels and play around.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it allows for an easy feedback loop when it comes to this kind of stuff. Yeah, so what we built was actually, it was called Nostr eggs.
Nostr eggs.
Yeah, that was the first thing. So we released it in October, and the week we released it, we thought actually we should change. We should build something called Flash. And essentially, the point of it was, might get a bit technical here, but I'm going to
Go
keep it
ahead.
simple. APIs. If you're a developer, use APIs, and these APIs allow you to like connect your data or your application with other sources, other data out there. And so this is how you use, for example, you know, if you want to create your own AI and you want to use the open AI,
you connect the API to it.
Yeah, exactly. And so what we did was a method that allows for more privacy. So using encrypted Nostr DMs in order to send these API requests. And then the server would receive this request and would call the endpoint, but it would first, before sending the response, it would send back through Nostr Lightning invoice. And you would have to pay the Lightning invoice. And only after the Lightning invoice was paid would you get the API response. Kind of what they're trying to do with L402, but generally speaking, more efficient. It turned out to be more efficient. And the reason for that is because in building all of that, which was, again, super technical, and we thought, who the hell's going to use that? Like, we got to do something else. Because it's rare for developers to, like, I don't know. There's rare examples of really applications that work that are targeted purely for developers. And I learned that later, I guess. But essentially, in that process, we discovered a new tech in Bitcoin that is called NostrWall Connect that was developed by the guys from Albi. And that's, you know, when we realized that actually, if you want to build an application that allows you to not hold custody of users' funds, well, then the only way to do that is through NostrWall Connect. And the reason for it is because you can trigger payments, you can trigger payment requests, create binding invoices, all this kind of stuff. And so, you know, when we thought we got to change Nostr eggs, it's too complicated, we need something nicer, something easier, something and so on, we thought, okay, let's go for Flash. And the very first product that we made was a paywall. So for content creators, which was actually, you know, the last topic we had just before transitioning to that.
Yeah.
And where the concept is quite simple is, you know, you have an Albi wallet, because back then there was pretty much only Albi that was properly set up with NostrWall Connect. So you have an Albi wallet, you can connect it to Flash, and whenever someone, and you know, you just fill in the basic form and it generates a script, and you can add this script to any website builder, Wix, WooCommerce, whatever you want, or any website. It's just HTML. You can add it anywhere. And whenever someone opens this page, well, then this pop-up automatically appears, and it will generate an invoice that is generated from your Albi wallet, right? So it's a direct invoice generated from your wallet. And so when someone pays for it, well, then it's a P2P payment, right? And the interesting part in all of that is that the merchant's wallet is connected to Flash, which means that, of course, we can generate these invoices, but we can also make payments. And so that's like the whole complicated part when it comes to, you know, self-custodial payments, or generally just payments in general, is that you need a custodian to be part of it, right?
Yeah.
Because the custodian wants to get paid. How do you get paid if you don't have the person's money? And so that's how it works. You know, the payment processor gets paid, and then they allow you to withdraw, or they auto forward, whatever it is, right? There's different groups in the fiat world and in the Bitcoin world. There's a mix of these two. But what we do is, since it goes through our software, because what we do is we just write software, well, then we know when the merchant received the payment. Therefore, we can trigger a payment from his wallet directly to ours, which is the 1.5% fee, right? So it allows us not to be involved in the transaction, but we can still capture our fee because of direct debit in Bitcoin. And that's what NWC does, NostrWall Connect. And, with this kind of realization, we're like, okay, so definitely you can make an L402 much more efficient because you can just trigger payments as opposed to kind of having to block some in macaroons and stuff. Anyway, complex stuff. Let's not necessarily get in there. But then that's when we realized, well, okay, well, actually, like the use cases are almost endless. And the next thing that we built then were subscriptions. So it's something that doesn't exist in Bitcoin and now does through Plaid and in full self-custody. So in that sense, innovation never has existed before, where you can set up a subscription. So again, you create an account with Flash. It requires email or Nostr, whatever you want, and you connect your wallet, and then you fill in a basic form. So you create your plans, like you give a name to your subscription, include a logo, and then it generates a URL. So if you want people to subscribe to your application to whatever it is, we had someone selling milk subscription in El Salvador through our tools. And essentially, you can redirect people to that landing page, which is a checkout page. And as an end user, you connect your wallet. It has to be NWC compatible, right? But more and more wallets are integrating NWC. And the moment your wallet is connected, you select your plan, and it's kind of like with a credit card transaction. So
every month it just pulls out the payment from the client's wallet.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And we're used to having a QR code that appears like a payment request, something that you scan from your wallet in order to actually make the payment. This part is just completely abstracted from the process. The Bitcoin invoice generation from the merchant's wallet is generated in the backend, and the payment for that invoice is done in the backend as well. And all we're doing is sending messages via Nostr to wallets saying, do this, do that. And so we're never involved in the flow of payments, which is pretty freaking amazing. And so, from there, we're just, okay, if we can do that, we understand this tech properly, we understand how we can build this. Well, let's go with more use cases and more kind of things that we can build. And right now, I think, we're the platform for merchants that allows for the most types of revenue models, because again, we have stuff like paywalls, payment widgets, we have hosted stores, point of sale, we have e-commerce plugins, and we have subscriptions that we're the only ones to offer in full self-custody, no KYC, nothing, right? So that's kind of the short pitch about Flash.
I love it. I had a conversation with someone. So I'm personally doing a course, a mentoring course with someone from the space, BTC Candle. Probably most of the listeners know. He has a course called "You Are the Monopoly," which I'm working with him to help me kind of formulate, and he's helping me with this become Unruggable and launching it. I wanted to go really down the path of just offering my mentoring program just for Bitcoin. We are still there's ideas to do it like a subscription model where, someone can pay monthly because it's like an ongoing thing. It's not like you just move your coins to a wallet and that's it. But there's a lot of steps to it. And if you don't want to just do like a quick kind of course, it can be a long-term thing. But then I was like, if only there would be a way how you could, get a monthly subscription payment in. I don't want to be having a spreadsheet list of people who I need to send QR invoices every first of the month. And it's very tedious. And most people will be like, oh, I'm not allow it. Let me just pay with credit card. But I really don't want to take credit card. Oh, plus the ethos, right? We're operating on a Bitcoin standard. It would be a little bit hypocritical to be taking fiat. But anyways, we'll see. At the beginning, if people want to pay me in fiat, they can, but there'll be a 15% subcharge for the inconvenience of me having to switch that Bitcoin on a non-KYC exchange, which is usually 10% markup fee on that. So if you want to do it, we can. But I was looking for the solution myself, and I'm sure other people listening to this who either have or want to launch their own service on a subscription method, they were like, if only there would be something. And now, thanks to Pierre and the incredible team at Flash, it really is a reality. And I think you guys are kind of tapping into such a big, I don't want to call it industry, but segment of business where there's a lot of services, may that be physical products or online services that operate on a subscription model, and just sending out QR codes every month is super inconvenient and time consuming, and management, seeing who paid, who didn't, tracking all those wallets. I mean, what you guys are doing is fantastic. So definitely I'll be trying out Flash, and anybody listening to this podcast, definitely after this show, go to Flash, open up an account, and connect it to your store and give it a go.
Yeah, no, thanks. Of course, I recommend anyone to do it and reach out. Of course, it can help out. But Jenny, yeah, it is, when it comes to subscriptions and even more generally in the Bitcoin space, I believe that the one that we truly compare to in terms of features and rather the security and self-custody and all of that is BTC Pay Server.
These guys.
Others, exactly, because others, there's usually two types of models, right? There's like a Zaprite that is fully self-custodial, but you need to pay a monthly fee.
Yeah.
Why? Because they don't have a way to actually, take this fee per transaction because they're on a completely different technology, right?
And Zaprite, sorry for interrupting, you pay in fiat or you can pay in Bitcoin monthly subscription?
So you pay in fiat.
You see, there we go.
Yeah, well, because they don't have a way to do subscriptions in Bitcoin. Like again, we're the
Yeah.
only ones to offer that, right? And so it's so that's kind of interesting. And also there's others that have an auto forward kind of system. So basically they get paid and they instantly send this over, yeah. But that like I wonder how long this model is going to work. I mean, in the EU, it's already illegal unless you register as a crypto asset service provider. So that regulators are going to come knocking at their door. The only way to go around that is just never, ever, ever hold custody of users' funds. And I think there's no other way to do that than through NostrWall Connect and the way that we're doing that. So it's really exciting. And especially that, the amount of Bitcoin companies that have subscriptions whose like target audience are only Bitcoiners, yet these Bitcoiners can't pay them in Bitcoin because there's no way for them to pay in Bitcoin. Like it's just so funny. And so that's what's very, very exciting about this tech, and that we're just trying to unlock all of these use cases because the way it works quite simply. We just released our wallet as well. Everyone, please
Check it out.
go check out go on our website. There's a wallet. It's a self-custodial wallet built using the Breeze Liquid SDK, their nodeless SDK. And it allows to interact with the Lightning Network directly. But essentially, it's a mobile wallet, so you have it on your phone. It is integrated thanks to NostrWall Connect to our web application. So if you want to use it as a merchant, well, you have to go into our web application. You can create all of these paywalls, all this kind of stuff directly from our web application. And whenever we need to create an invoice or we trigger the payment of the fee, whatever it is, we wake up your phone with notifications and it allows us to make these interactions happen. So if you're a user that's subscribed to anything, to like your business idea, for example, and you're doing it through the Flash wallet, well then the phone can be in your pocket and you will just be charged automatically when the next payment due date comes. And you'll be notified and you'll receive an email saying, your subscription has been renewed, just like the way you're used to experiencing it in the fiat
With the
world,
normal ones.
which is the kind of payment experiences that we need to be able to provide if we want to be able to compete with because the great thing with custody is that the user experience is
Super
just
smooth.
you can't really match it. Well, I think now we can. And I think NostrWall Connect is the way to be able to match that because again, I mean, we can automate microtransactions in full self-custody. I mean, this, like me, someone that works in payments, it just gets me so excited.
No, indeed. And kind of the fact that I'm sure you sleep like a baby at night knowing you're not like holding all these funds in a custody and like worrying either when are we going to get hacked or when are the regulators going to come smashing, the FBI and the Interpol smashing through my front door to like take me to court. Like we're seeing with the Samurai guys, which are still hopefully they'll get out, but like it's been going on for so long, and I think after the Samurai case, especially in the US and Europe, like a lot of these wallet providers were like they got shaky knees and they left out and they went to Costa Rica's and El Salvador's and everywhere kind of thinking what the hell's going on. But on the other aspect of not you as a service provider, but as a user, I mean, the fact that you're holding your sats in self-custody, I mean, I can't preach it enough. Like I talk about it in every episode that everybody should be self-custodying their sats. And that's the best way, you have full control of it. You're not relying on if your custodian rugs you or gets rugged by some governmental body or some regulatory body. And then you lose out on everything. So, it's a win-win for everybody, for you, for the users. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think also I don't see a way out of regulations and having to KYC everyone and all of that. if it's not self-custody. Because unless, like, I mean, I don't know, the MiCA regulations in Europe, for example, they literally only focus on the custody of crypto assets. And I mean, to be fair, like, it makes sense. Like, I don't feel comfortable having too much money on something like Wallet of Satoshi. I use Wallet of Satoshi, like, yeah, a lot. My mom uses Wallet of Satoshi. She stacks sats on
But now she can use
playing
Flash
Thunder games.
wallet, right?
Now she can, yeah, exactly. But essentially, you know, it's, if I trust an organization with my money, I want to make sure I can rely on this organization. So it's not like that KYC is the enemy. The issue is that custody is the enemy, right? Because of course you need to trust them. So you need to create some sort of like trust relationship. And for whatever reason, also the government, they kind of went two ways where there's, of course, you know, like now with the MiCA regulations
And the
you're
travel rule,
bored.
which is insane.
Yeah, but yeah, so this I agree that the travel rule, that's a tough one, because I can understand, you know, putting harder scrutiny on custodians. This I get it. The travel rule is a harder one, but no, but then again, no, actually, no, same thing. If you're a custodian, you need to follow anti-money laundering rules. This is why there's the travel rule. It's to avoid these anti-money laundering rules. Now, like, I think a lot of these rules are bullshit, right? But it does make sense that, like, as a custodian, you should make sure that there isn't money laundering or illegal activities, that these transactions aren't going to the bad place, quote unquote, however this is defined. Because even for yourself as a custodian, you're going to get one hell of a fine or prison time, or what if like what you're doing is helping terrorists, right? Now, if there's no custody, I mean, you can be helping terrorists, which like sucks, yeah, but it's not your fault. Like, it's just P2P transactions, like, you know, and that's kind of the big difference there, is that really the way, this is why Bitcoin is P2P electronic cash, right? Like, it's not even a, you know, safe
Uncensorable money.
haven as yeah, exactly. And anything that adds these custodians and intermediaries is just kind of, I'd say, almost a lazy way of approaching it. I think it's just the tech was very limited up until now, and and now we're exiting this space, but not for everything. On and off ramping, like, it does rely on custodians most times, not always, right? Which is the, like, the, you know, the kind of tech where we need to like send people over. But custodians are always going to exist. They should always exist. Businesses, most of them will want to hold money in, you know, some kind of custodian solution they can easily on and off ramp for, right? But it doesn't mean they need to earn in custody. They can earn in full self-custody, reduce the amount of intermediaries to essentially zero, because they get paid directly by their clients, which I think is great. You know, it really it allows to create these relationships from merchant to customer in a way that we haven't had until now, and just creating these direct payment links and connections between individuals and merchants. I think down the road, as Nostr as a protocol continues growing, Flash is essentially a Nostr client, but we don't do social network. You can just log in with Nostr. Everything is Nostr. Like, we only use as our backend user management is Nostr public keys, right? So we're directly integrated with other Nostr tools as well, right? So a user that already has Nostr can log into Flash. User that has Flash can log into other Nostr tools, right? And so, like,
Nice.
this is great. And as this, you know, whole entire ecosystem continues growing, well, then we'll be able to see and create more of these direct interactions between different Nostr users, which I find pretty exciting as well. You know, you can just make sure that, you know, you give rewards to the right people. You show who's been your customer for a long time. You can reward them, like, you know, these kind of things that can be done
Give
in
him
a
some
fully
nice badges like we do on Nostr,
yeah, exactly.
which
You know,
can't be
whatever it is.
bought in most cases.
Yeah. So you know, these kind of things, I think, will just allow it to be just so much easier and just transportable to other applications as well.
You know, like this, what you just said, Pierre, you know, the fact that kind of Flash is yet another, let's call it another Nostr client. The beautiful thing that I love about, you know, building on Nostr is that if you have a great idea or like a solution to a problem and you build it on Nostr, you just kind of plug into this ever-growing body of a community of people. It's not like you're building your own little app walled garden and you need to bring this influx, do this crazy marketing campaign to get people to sign up onto your account, your platform, to learn about it and like bootstrap it for years. You kind of just build something, plug it into, especially now with Nostr Wallet Connect, the NWC, it's insane. Like, everything's just interconnected, and bam, you can receive payments, do crazy features. Like, there's so many things that can be built on Nostr. Like, a lot of people associate Nostr as kind of as a decentralized X platform, but like, that's what most of the clients are today, the Primals, the Amethysts, the Damases. But I mean, there's like with Zapstream or like what Flash is doing. Like there's a lot of other things that are not just like social media interactions. They're like other applications that are built into it to complement the whole ecosystem. Now, I'm so bullish on Nostr. You know, people sometimes say like, oh, like, where are we going to go with Bitcoin? I'm like, listen, don't worry about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's on a slow, steady race. It's like steadily going forward. But like with Nostr, that's like a parabolic, adrenaline infused child. They're just like spurring out left, right, and center. And like, it's insane how fast things are developing on Nostr. Like every week I'm mind blown by like people posting, oh, I've tried out this new feature, or like I released this and that. And it's just like, it's overpowering. There's so much stuff. You can't even track it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah, and I think I think really the powerful thing of Nostr that because of course there's the whole decentralized social network. That's kind of like the first use case that we had. But I think the more growing use case is this decentralized identity, this shared user management repository that any application can connect to. I mean, it's just so nice when you can log in, like you already have an account to all of these Nostr clients, like there's something very, very
and you don't
nice.
have to refollow people, and people don't have to refollow you. It's just like, you put your NSEC in, you got everything.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just really, really amazing. So I think, that's the use case number one. And the second one is, NostrWall Connect payments. Like again, direct debit in Bitcoin. Direct debit in self-custody, like was impossible until Nostr because it can only be done through Nostr events. This is fascinating. And so I think, these use cases, they're just going to grow and we have to find ways to like make it easier and make it more scalable. But there's stuff out there, right? I don't know if you saw, there's what are they called? The name escapes me. The streaming service.
Zapstream?
No. So they're like
something
let's
else.
say a fiat streaming service.
Tidal. Rumble. Tidal. I've heard of, but I never used Tidal.
Yeah, so Tidal is part of Block, which belongs to Jack Dorsey. Well, they've added Nostr keys as part of their user management. So every single user has a Nostr equivalent. Basically, the way they've added as like a first thing, for developers, I think they're just kind of, trying it out, is if on a website there's a Tidal player that has been added by developers there, well, as a user, you can log in to this small player using your Nostr keys that are linked to your account, right? So it means that a Tidal user already has some keys he can find in his setting and is already compatible with every other Nostr client, including Flash, right? And so that's the we need more such use cases at bigger scale. And I think they're going to come for the basic reason where we can collaborate with companies that have Nostr identifiers for their users. And this way their users, they don't need to log in to Flash. They're already logged in because they're logged in through that application that redirects them to us. We trust that application. We know they're redirecting a user. So, we can even confirm the fact that this publicly belongs to them. So we can just, go on and do all the interactions as we would normally do, right? Which I think that's very interesting as to how is internet going to develop in a world where you can build platforms like this now with AI, where you can add Nostr logins again just as quickly, and these you can integrate all of these applications through this shared user management system that is Nostr keys. I think is quite fascinating. Essentially. And each of them has their lightning address attached to it. They can have NostrWall connected. It's the true path forward towards our physical self. That is, me, Pierre Corbin, and what I do in life, and my digital self, that actually no one knows truly who I am. And it's in this digital identity that all of my funds are attached to, making my physical person safe and my digital person anonymous. I think it's quite a bright future like that to avoid all regulations. And this is how we kill the 1984 future world we seem to be directing ourselves towards.
Yeah, no, let's go. Well, potentially partly 1 foot living in it already. It's not like it's happened, it's already here. Now is the time to really bootstrap and go all in on freedom tech if we want to escape this totalitarian control. And kind of the European version of social credit service, which probably is coming right after the digital euro rollout. Hopefully they don't roll it out, but who knows? Miss Ursula, just the other day, she was like, "Oh, we need to really pick up the pace. October deadline. We need to get pushing," because she's like, "Shit, like I don't know, like is the euro about to crash or what's gonna happen?" Like they're very desperate to roll out this digital CBDC euro, but let's see. I mean, I don't really care what happens on that end because we are building some great tech, which will essentially, it's a parallel already economy, or we call it our own universe where we're building our future on. And the interoperability of it is fascinating. As you said, Pierre, like you can just like with one NSEC connect to everything. You've got your whole digital identity. You've got all your payments connected to it. You don't have to redo everything over and over again. Like one thing growing up in kind of the social media boom age of my first social media was, I think it was MySpace, Bebo, and then Facebook, and then like all this crap, like, and you had to recreate this account and follow new people, and then you'd lose that account and then go to a new one and start fresh. And more importantly, you never own that data because you could just get censored. Like we're seeing now on X, even like big accounts like Lynn Alden and Lawrence Lepard, like losing their account, like getting hacked into it, and then they can't verify that it's them. Like school kids, they need to send selfies with like written dates and what are you talking about, man? Just like go full Nostr. You don't have to verify to anyone, nothing. Just make sure your NSEC, like one thing I'm worried about is the security of NSECs, and especially people that like punch their NSEC right into a client. Because what if it's like a fraudulent client and someone gets access to your NSEC and they can essentially just wipe everything? Well, not wipe, but like, I mean, they can like do a lot of damage to you, and there is no like contact customer support. Like I got hacked. You got major rugged. So I don't know, like there's extensions which I also use and I recommend people to use, but like that's one thing. Then again, we're still so early, like that's a use case that needs to get tackled to. So someone listening that's like, oh, what can I do in the space? Well, maybe like security on the Nostr kind of profile is, in my eyes, something that's important that needs to get developed on. But then yet again, Nostr as a protocol is 4 years old. 4 years old, and how much we have built in 4 years is crazy. Fascinating. Like COVID's older than Nostr, and COVID was like 2 weekends ago. Like it's crazy. Like how quickly things are going. Like imagine the next 5 years. Like imagine what we're gonna build on Nostr in 2030, and then 2040, and then 2050. Wow, like it's gonna be insane. And and even Bitcoin in the bigger picture as a macro, like 16 coming into like 17-year-old tech, like that we're $1 trillion market, and like we went from like being these like crazy underground like drug money on Silk Road to being called absolute crazy gamblers, degenerates, to companies starting to add it to the balance sheets, to now governments, some mining, some doing some strategic reserve, agree with it or don't agree with it. It's still like it's getting legitimized in such a short amount of time, not even 2 decades, and we're already like so far. I mean, the future is so bright. So like I really tell people, don't focus on the price. It doesn't matter if it's 100K or like right now it's on super discount. It's Black Friday week in Bitcoin. It's 75K a pop. But that doesn't matter. It's fiat prices. One Bitcoin is always one Bitcoin. The important thing that everybody should be doing is stacking them sats on a regular. The only thing you should focus on is that at the end of the month, you have more sats that you had at the beginning of the month. And that's the only numbers that matter. Where are we going fiat value? Are we 100K? Are we 50K? Are we 500K? Are we 5 million? It's relevant. Just keep on stacking because the purchasing power will always go up. The roller coaster of price is always going to go up because there's always traders and there's always like people trying to time the market. As the saying goes, time in the market always beats timing the market. So just focus on stacking sats. And the longer you are in Bitcoin, I'm sure Pierre as well, like I'm pretty numb to price action. It's like I looked at Bitcoin yesterday in the morning and it was like 77K. I'm like, I checked my fiat, like how much is in that Revolut account? 115 euros left. Let's do another 100 euro buy. We leave 15 just for the subscription debit payments that I have, which keep this show running. And I was like, just empty everything out, and like I'm not like afraid. I'm not selling. No way. Like I see it on a discount. I'm just getting more sat. So yeah, I mean, don't get sidetracked by price action. Focus on what's being built on the protocol on Bitcoin and as well as on Nostr and other freedom tech. So Pierre, I mean, kudos and congrats. I heard of Flash. I'll be honest, I didn't do too much research, but after this conversation with you, Pierre, you've got another loyal customer coming on. So I'll definitely, after the pod later today, I will sign up, check out the wallet, and definitely I'd be happy to share it with everyone else. And everyone listening, definitely check out Flash. And the fact that you kind of created this unique product of subscription payments on Lightning with like eliminating this whole tedious process of you sending out invoices, manually tracking everything, just like you give the option to the end user, they choose what they want, they connect their wallet through Nostr Wallet Connect, and bam, it's done. Amazing. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, thanks. Now we're very proud of the work that we did, and I think that there's a lot more to come. Like, we just released our wallet. Big update this month for the wallet as well. We're gonna add USDT support as well, just to lower the barrier of entry for different merchants and just simplify how they can get into this world, because
Latin America is huge on USDT. More people use USDT than BTC, so that's amazing.
Yeah, which I understand, right? And so we want to be able to serve that. And again, like our platform, there's no KYC. Setup is literally in 2 minutes. Like in 5 minutes, you can already have received your first payment through Flash.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so I think the fact that we're trying to make this easy, no KYC and all of that, we hope we can just simplify it for merchants. A lot of the merchants I talk to, they're not already in Bitcoin. They're just curious about it. Well, they're looking for easy solutions. There's no such easy solution out there. Essentially, one that allows them to just plug and play their setup in 5 minutes, and that's it. And it's free. They can just wait and see, and they only pay the moment they receive a transaction. Like, there's no other solution out there, and I think we need more of these that are non-technical, easy to bring merchants on board. So yeah, I mean, if ever you need help setting up anything, do let me know. And that's also true for anyone listening to this podcast.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Pierre. And I guess to round up this fascinating and inspiring conversation, I don't know about you listeners, but I'm bullish as hell after this conversation. What is one piece of advice, Pierre, you would like to give to a listener that's only starting out his Bitcoin journey today? That's kind of my closing question that I share to all the guests. What would you share with them, Pierre?
I mean, I think, take your time. Like, Bitcoin isn't going anywhere. The price, sometimes it might feel like the price is escaping, but I mean, we've all been humbled many times with the price of Bitcoin. Just, whenever there's a bull market, it's always followed by a bear market. There'll be opportunity to accumulate more. Just have a plan. Take your time when it comes to it. Learn, see what's happening in the space, and try to get involved. Join a meetup. It's always worth, talking about it. Less people will consider you crazy around you if you have the opportunity to actually go to meetups and talk with people and just, have these conversations that you want to have with everyone, or have them with people that will actually want to have them and listen. That's a lot of value. And just try and be involved in the community. I think it brings a lot. It makes you realize there's a lot of opportunity in this world as well. And it's a growing world. There's more and more job offers there. There's more and more, there's more and more ways you can get involved. And I think that's something that I know I was kind of almost scared of when I was, going down deep in my rabbit hole, because you're just on Twitter. You see these big accounts, all this stuff, and you're like, yeah, this is just Hollywood.
How am I going to compete?
Yeah, but in the end, no, there's ways of getting involved. Just there's huge opportunity in Bitcoin though, so keep your eyes out.
Amazing. Well, there you have it, guys. Definitely. And where can we send, Pierre? What's the best place to send our listeners to get in touch with you and follow you and everything that's happening in the Flash stratosphere?
Yeah, so you can follow me directly. So on Twitter, I'm at Pierre Corbin. Well, I mean, just search for Pierre Corbin, you'll find me.
Check the show notes. He'll be there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then there's also, of course, Flash. So it's at paywflash, and you can just go on our website, paywithflash.com. You'll have access to all of that and a bunch of information there.
Incredible. Pierre, thanks again for taking the time. It's been a pleasure meeting you, and thank you for sharing your story. Truly inspirational. Anyone listening out there and thinking, how can I get involved? I get these questions a lot. Like, I'd love to get into a Bitcoin job, but I don't know what to do. Just start your own, try and solve a problem or offer your service for sats. And there you go. You're working for Bitcoin. So it doesn't necessarily have to be going and applying to Blockstream and hoping you get an internship over there. You can do, there's so many things you can do. And Pierre, just another example of how he was looking how to break in, do an impact. And here he is pioneering subscription payments on the indestructible Lightning freedom money. So Once again, Pierre, thanks so much for everything you're doing. Thanks for coming on. We'll definitely be inviting you back in the future because I have a feeling you have a lot more to deliver and showcase to the world and help us connect further. And until then, all the best of luck. And if there's ever any help I can do, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to help and support.
That's great. Yeah, thanks a lot, DG. Very nice to meet you and to chat. Love your show. Love the vibe. It was really good to be on. So yeah, thanks a lot. And thanks to everyone listening.
Thank you, Pierre. Until next time. Thank you for tuning in. If this episode resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit too. Your support keeps us going, and we appreciate it. See you in the next one.